It's my feel-good breakfast show.
It is your feel-good breakfast show, Expresso here in S3, and today we're discussing a topic that many of us can relate to, dealing with bad neighbors. Dun, dun, dun. Now, we all know how crucial it is to have good relationships with those we live nearby to. I mean, of course, if we kick the ball over the wall, you have to have a report to go and ask for it back, unless their dog eats it or they stab it. I don't know. I'm not saying that it's an personal experience, but it's like that. That's why we brought in a panel who have a story or two to tell, maybe 5. And we have Reva Watson, property lawyer and director of Watson Attorneys. We need a legal angle. Plus, we've got an incredible panel of people who are willing to share some accounts and spill that tea on neighbors, which I'm excited about. So this is how it goes. So first and foremost, welcome panel. This is a nice big panel today. Hey?
You're welcome. You're welcome.
This is great. Hi, Reva.
Hi.
Hi. So, I mean, you're our legal voice here, because, I mean, I feel like we're going to vent today. So we're going to need to understand the recourse with you. But let's just go to anybody. I was told I need to address you as Queen Minnie.
Yes.
Sorry, Queen Minnie.
Yes, darling.
What makes a bad neighbor to you?
So a bad neighbor for me is someone who's highly inconsiderate.
Yes.
It's someone who's selfish.
Yeah.
And someone who's not understanding of the fact that we're not billionaires yet, so we don't have haters.
Yeah.
We have people around us.
Okay, that's fine. And then just a little one here. I'm not gonna. I could call you Queen Carissa.
You absolutely can.
Okay,
I'm very
Queen Carissa, sorry.
with that.
So, are there some very, very obvious social no-nos when it comes to neighborly behavior? Anything that comes to mind is like maybe the top of the list.
Yeah, noise. That's
Noise,
to me
really?
the most important thing, honestly.
What if
like,
you're playing the songs that you like?
you know what? Then I won't mind. It depends on the time of day.
Okay, cool.
Let's go with that.
Okay.
But I think for me, noise is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Like whatever you do outside of that is your personal business. But if I'm trying to sleep and you're trying to party on a Tuesday evening, there's no need. There's literally no excuse that you can justify that kind of behavior. So I would say noise is #1 on my list.
Okay, noise. Reva, permission to approach the bench?
Proceed.
Thank you so much. Just wanted to find out, all right, are there actual sort of, pinpoint sort of behaviors, things that neighbors do that are actually legal issues? Because I know that sometimes they're just annoying.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some way to pinpoint, like, this is going to be a legal thing. And just from the top of your mind, what are some of the things that are quite common, I suppose, in South African neighborhoods?
Well, with everybody living so close to each other these days, especially Cape Town, everybody's on top of each other.
That's correct.
People have a right to the use and enjoyment of their property. So if I want to listen to my jams at a really high level, I'm allowed to, but I've also then got to consider the rights of somebody to live in peace and quiet.
Okay.
So it's always a weighing up of each person, wherever you're living, you've got a right to use and enjoyment, but it shouldn't infringe so much on somebody else's right. As to make their life unmanageable.
I got you. So when you say infringe, are we talking about times of the noise as well, right?
Times, well, I mean, there's what would a reasonable person do? Not a reasonable person who is sensitive to noise and wants their tranquility in the middle of a city. That's not going to work. It's what would the reasonable person do? If it is 2 a.m. and the noise is blaring, that's not reasonable. But if it's at like 8 o'clock on a Friday, it's like, surely there's going to be a bit of leeway. But as it gets later, it gets more and more unreasonable.
Well, let's get more experiences so we can find out if there are indeed legal issues. I'm going to go to the back of the panel over there. I'm sorry, I know that it's not your season.
But it's not at all. But it's fine. I bring the sunshine.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
So tell me, because I feel like it'd be so easy to live next door to you, right? It'd be so, because I mean, you're that type of neighbor, aren't you?
I am.
But now, share an experience on your side that you believe could possibly constitute a legal issue.
Oh, wow. So, Carl, it was funny because I live next to an Airbnb, right? So I've got this thing where you've got temporary neighbors. They're not constant.
Yes.
So everybody's different, right? But we have these situations where you have these owners renting out these apartments for extended period of time. So these neighbors become used to you. And then you get to the point where they're playing their music at 3 o'clock in the morning and you have to go to work the next day because they're on holiday.
Yeah.
And so there's this thing where you have to understand, like, they're on holiday, they're having a good time, but also there are boundaries because you're in a residential area.
I got you.
Then you sort of have to navigate. However, ek is hy auntie. Ek sal kom en hello, sorry darling man, but not rude. You just politely.
That's called passive aggression.
Yeah, you know, it's also called colored auntie. Just in it. Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Hello. I'm so sorry, but I have to go to work the next day. Would you be so kind to turn your music down? And then if you don't, I'll just call the police. But I won't do that now.
You're a nice auntie.
Not right now.
Right.
Not right now.
Zoe, a quick anecdote from your side, from a neighbour that an experience?
Well, I've loved and hated neighbours. I've dated neighbours. I've been completely against it.
Dated neighbours?
Don't do it. Don't do it. I don't suggest it. But I think a big experience was when I was in university and in res, and something happened where people were putting oil crosses on doors of non-Christian students and like queer students. So that was a bit of like that's too close to home, and you're taking your own will in regard of people's lives. But yeah, that was a bit messed up.
Wow.
Yeah, no, so it's been...
I honestly thought that auntie was the limit now. But
Yeah, no.
So
like...
Goodness. All right, so I actually want to... I'll get back to the Airbnb story with Reva a little later, because, I mean, I'd love to know the responsibility with regard to that person's sort of disturbance. But we've got a panel here. We've got an expert with legal advice. If you need some legal advice, something's happening with you, 063-408-8863. We'd love to chat to you about the bad neighbours. As we get on to the other neighbour, you in here in the kitchen, we've got something special for you.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to Feel Good Breakfast Show. This is Expresso on S3, and if you're a good neighbour, I love you. If you're a bad neighbour, you wouldn't know that you're a bad neighbour unless somebody called the cops on you. You're like, why are you calling the cops on me? I'm just living my life. Well, we are continuing our conversation with our panel and just discussing some of the legal aspects, and this is why we do have Reva Watson, who's here to make sure that we are on course. But first, we spill tea. That's the most important thing, all right? Let's spill together. So, panel, let's go to Queen Minnie.
Yes, hello.
I want to go around the room here with our panel of experts here. Queen Minnie, talk to me. Has there ever been a circumstance in which you'd had to call the cops on a neighbour?
There has, actually. So I'm here for 5 months, and yes, from KZN.
Oh,
so
welcome.
Thank you. My neighbour has a business going on that requires a lot of customers. I won't mention the business. But
Okay.
yes.
We're not going to go there.
Yes. So normally we'd have visitors because I live in a 5-bedroom apartment, which is very huge, but yeah. So we'd have visitors, and we have like public parking on the streets.
Yes.
And so our visitors would park anywhere, you know, rightfully so. But now, to him, we were parking on the parkings for his clients. But then he didn't address the issue. It's just that he decided to damage the tires of the car, and the guy that was actually visiting at that time was from Limpopo. With his car. He had driven from there. So he damaged the tires, left a note on the windscreen, and...
Strongly worded, probably.
Yeah, like, it was like, whoa, that was drastic. And then, luckily, one of the neighbors saw him do that, so we just didn't even want to entertain anything. We called the cops, you know.
Okay, well, that's, I mean, I suppose that's good. We'll hear from Reva in a moment, though. Carissa, anything from your side where you had to
As one of my earrings just fell off,
That's the perfect... Not a reason to call the cops, but okay.
Yeah, for sure. So it actually happened quite recently where it was probably also like 2, 3 a.m. on the weekend. Obviously, people had gone out. Not that it's an excuse, but it was getting a bit rowdy, but in the space of like, is that bordering on man on woman abuse, you know what I mean? So we called the cops just in case, because you never really know when somebody might actually need help. And the cops actually came. I was like, oh, okay, good on them.
Well done.
They showed up. I was like, praise be.
Also kind of sad that we are South Africans and we are surprised that the cops came. I'm like, that's a bit tough,
And they came, they intervened. They were like, you know, I'll show you what it's like to hit a man, and broke through. It was very dramatic. We were just like, I'm a backup. And yeah, she was like, thank you for coming. And she left the next day. So we intervened, thankfully, at the right time.
Okay, this is so. Let's go to the back of the panel here, Summer and Zoe, for a second, though. You know how when a neighbour interrupts your daily life and what you believe is your natural life and things that you sort of have a right to do. Summer, from your side, has a neighbour ever intervened in that sort of thing?
Look, our parking situation is what
there we go.
a real situation. So it's one of those things where we've had our neighbors bring over guests, like you said, but they don't respect the fact that they've got one designated parking, or maybe two, or you can park behind one another. Either way, you choose how you want to use your parking. However, when you've got an attitude when I approach you, I'm a little bit like, not today. You know what I mean? Because it's one of those things where I need to get in, I need to get out of my house, I need to be able to reverse in peace. I really don't want to reverse. I want to reverse in peace when I do. I want to be able to actually get into my parking. So it's one of those things where you have to approach them, and let me tell you, they will have a mouthful for you.
Of course.
They will know. I've actually been told a lot of things by just asking people like, hi, sorry, can you ask your guest to park outside? And they'll be like, so, I'm sorry, are you paying for me to live here?
Come on.
Are you paying for me to live here? They will park wherever I tell them to park. And I was just, so
no, that's
you see, so that's fine. That's when I just stop and you lay hands and you're like, it's fine, have a lovely, blessed day, blessed day.
So we had to call the body
you got a lot of work here, Reva, coming up though. Zoe, and you said body corp.
So yeah, we had to call the body corp on one of our neighbors because there was a shared pool area and they were letting their dogs poo, and like it wasn't just like pooing, but there was a fault off on the other side that they could have gone to, and the dog had diarrhea, and they were just going around the pool area.
Wow!
It was the same neighbors who brought their own plastic chairs to the pool, even though they had like assigned chairs.
Wow,
they wrote their number on the chairs. You couldn't sit on their chairs. It was very interesting.
Wow.
Reva, we have a dynamic array for you, from cars to diarrhea. Now, tell me, from a legal aspect, is there a proper pathway to get something sorted out? Just in terms of, so you're safe in your own and not actually getting rowdy and sort of getting yourself into trouble, but give us the legal way to actually get something sorted out, especially if something persists, because you can call the police once, twice, 3 times, but if it doesn't stop, then what do you do?
Okay, so we touched on calling police, contacting the body corporate, etc. There's different layers of, depending on what kind of noise it is, there's different layers of rights to recourse. So if you're in a body corporate or a homeowners association, you would report it to the homeowners association or the managing agents and get them to assist you. If that doesn't work, then you go on to the next level, which is available to everybody, is your bylaws, depending on where you live. The national legislation has allowed various municipalities to create bylaws that apply to that particular area. And then that's where you find out the times and what the decibel noise is and how noisy people can be and when it is more or less reasonable or unreasonable. And then so that again, as soon as somebody is now infringing on your right, you're not happy, you've confronted them, they still continue to do it, you'll then confront them, I would say, in writing, so there's a record of the confrontation. Always put everything in writing.
Yes.
Try verbally, write to them so that there's a record of it. They don't have to read it, they can tear it up, but you've got a record that you've handed it to them. And then if that's still a problem, then you go and you report to, well, if it's a noise disturbance, there are different types of noises. A noise disturbance, you'd probably not write to them saying, please, can you turn your music down? It's 3 a.m. You would call the police. If it's a noise nuisance and it's an ongoing thing, persistent dogs and tire slashing and that's a noise nuisance, that you would then report to your local authorities. There are hotlines, etc. You can Google it, and you report that to the local authorities. They then do a full investigation on what this nuisance is, and is it really a nuisance? Is it finable? Can the person get put in, you can get fined or put in prison. There's legislation that allows that, but whether you actually get to that point, you'll probably have to go through loads of litigation.
Wowza. Well, we've traversed a number of different topics here, slashing tires, people parking in the wrong places, diarrhea, as well as Reva, who has given us an incredible sort of legal standing as well, to our panel queen, Minnie and Carissa and Zoe and Summer. Thank you so much for joining us here today. But of course, Bad Neighbours continues. This chat, 0634088863. Any comments, please let us know.